open session. 4.2, student expulsion, case 21-2208. Information action item. Read it. Open it and read it.
Make sure it's the right case. So this one.
Fact finding hearing conducted by administrative panel, motion by board member. Who was the motion?
Bonds
Me.
and O'Banion.
O'Banion, seconded by Bonds. And seconded by board member Bonds. It is moved that the Board of Education.
James Bond.
Oh,
Another good stuff. 007.
all right, 007. It is moved that the Board of Education find there is cause to expel student number 91-300-9584 from all schools in the district for violation of Education Code section 48-900-0 and 48-900.7. Specific Education Code section as they apply include. It is further moved that the board adopt terms of the stipulated expulsion order, which is to suspend the expulsion to have the student attend and remain at the alternative education program at MCOE alternative program. It is hereby ordered that the pupil shall be provided with an education program at MCOE alternative program for the current semester of the 21-22 school year and the following semester of the 22-23 school year ending in December of 2022. Roll call vote. Mrs. Davis,
Yes.
Mrs. Austin,
Yes.
Mr. Bonds,
Yes.
Mr. Mraz is yes, Mrs. Arias,
Yes.
Mr. O'Banion,
Yes.
Mr. Van Wert.
Yes.
Three point four, student expulsion case 21-2209. A fact-finding hearing conducted by the administration panel, motion by a board member. This was you, Mrs. Davis, correct? Mrs. Davis, seconded by board member Bonds. It is moved that the Board of Education find there is cause to expel student 91-300-7843 from all schools in the district for violation of Education Code section 48-900N. Specific Education Code section as they apply. Included is further moved that the board adopt the terms of the stipulation expulsion order, which is to suspend the expulsion to have the student attend and remain at the alternative education program at Westside Community Day Middle School. It is hereby ordered that the pupil shall be provided with an education program at the alternative program, Westside Community Day Middle School for the current semester and the following semester of the 21-22 school year. Roll call vote, Mrs. Davis,
Yes.
Mrs. Austin,
Yes.
Mr. Bonds,
Yes.
Mr. Mraz, yes. Mrs. Arias,
Yes.
Mr. O'Banion,
Yes.
Mr. Van Wert.
Yes.
Passes. Three point five. 4.4. 4.4. What do you see? 4.1, 4.4. Oh, 4.4.
4.4. Yep.
4.4, report out of closed session. Nothing to report. Pledge of allegiance. Mrs. Austin, lead us in the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Should be led by Mrs. Davis.
Lord, we come to you and just continue to ask for strength and peace for those, who are hurting and need it most. And we ask you, Lord, please, for your continued guidance. We ask you, Lord, for patience and humility and respect for each other, the jobs that we're trying to do, and that we do them with your guidance, and in your name, Lord, amen.
Amen. .1 oral reports. Fiscal cash status update presented by Melissa Kilpinski, Assistant Superintendent of Business Services.
Evening. So tonight I've prepared the normal monthly cash report. Through January 31st. Of the year, our projections estimated of how our cash will be received and spent. Also, I want to remind you that there's a column for accruals. That means I'm anticipating that all of the dollars, there's what we budgeted were for a large sum of COVID dollars that if we don't spend them this year, they'll be carried over to next year. So those are the estimates of the funds we'll receive for COVID in that final column after June of revenues we'll receive for COVID and expenses, estimates for expenses that will be carried over to the next fiscal year. How you read that accrual column. Just wanted to remind you of that. If you go down to the bottom, it does show at the end of June that we are still in positive cash status. So we will be able to, at this point, I project that we will have fiscally responsible to the end of June in meeting our financial obligations. But I also brought you a couple other reports in regards to our COVID dollars, the one-time dollars that we have been using to spend on all the things we need to do COVID. The report first, 583. One shows overall, so we started with our funds 2 years ago, back in March of 2020, and some of those dollars were spent that year, more last year, and then we're still spending them this year and beyond. So this just shows all those years all together. So all together, our total revenues awarded for COVID purposes, 17.4 million. Year to date, over all those years, 8 million. And so we have 9.4 remaining of our COVID dollars. Next report, I brought a breakdown by function on how those dollars have been spent. So in the first year, a little bit higher, the first year under the chart. It's the chart, we need to see a little bit of the bottom part of the chart, the lower part. There we go. Okay. So, and that very first year, we spent a little bit over 200,000, mainly on getting the kids set up for distance learning, if you remember, and Wi-Fi hotspots and nodding his head over there. Mr. Lee's nodding his head over there. And when we got up and running really fast. So last year, the breakdown is shown there. In blue is our dollars spent on instruction, and then the orange on instructional related services, pupil services is in green, Ancillary services, that's our athletics, is in the pink. General administration is our technology. Also, all of our, it's all of our hotspots, everything that increased in order to provide that distance learning to the students. And then in the brown is for facilities, our cell tower and other things that we put in place, our PE portables and our shade structures, and all those are in the brown. So that was the bulk of last year. And then this year, we can see we're about equal in different categories. So we continue to build on what we had in place before, and then meet the needs of our students this year moving forward. And we'll continue on with this year, next year, and into the year after that, when the funds will expire in September of 2022. Questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
7.2 Superintendent Report. Thank you, Ms. Kopinski.
Student.
Good evening, community,
So we have a
and
student.
welcome to February already, which seems kind of crazy to say, but it's approaching us pretty quickly. Some enrollment data. So first slide here, if you look, we're going to continue to monitor our district enrollment data. And we are at 9 students, which is exciting. If you're out there, welcome to our district, and parents, if you need anything at all, this is what we're here for. P1 report update. So last report, Mrs. Kopinski reported on the P1 report update of where our ADA stands. Just an update on that. The governor is looking to have some proposals in legislation about possibly a 3-year average. So we should have some new information on our ADA and what that may look like in projections in the future. Our COVID district report. This is what I printed about. Last time. Our Dpol testing center is still up and running on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. As of this date, Mr. Von Alman and his team have done a great job of facilitating 1,861 tests administered. In quarantine and isolation data, we're still staying pretty consistent with about 500 students each month being in quarantine or isolation. But we do anticipate those numbers to drop, and already seen a drop in the last couple of weeks, and definitely a noticeable change. So I think all of our teams have noticed and noted that the new update to our COVID is definitely making a difference for students in their seats. But year to date, positive cases this school year for students, 477, staff 131, with a combined total of 608. You can see in the chart to the right, since winter break, the Omicron virus strand has definitely been the bulk of our positive cases. Some news and updates for the month. The safe return to school plan is being updated with tonight and approved. In order to receive our COVID money that Mrs. Kopinski reported out on, we have to continue to update this plan every 6 months until we don't. So we'll continue to bring that forth as a consent item. And the governor released a change in masking requirements for commercial purposes, but it didn't quite change what K-12 settings are for our students. However, it is resorting back to that December 15th guidelines for our staff. So what does that mean? So when students are in the room, whether you are vaccinated or not, everyone has to mask up. If the student's not in the room, if you are vaccinated, then you don't have to wear your mask. If you are unvaccinated, then we would continue to wear our masks. And the masking update, according to the governor, will be updated on February 28th, or let me backtrack that, will be evaluated on February 28th. And so we'll be awaiting that information. Attendance data is always on the forefront of our minds, and we continue to look at our goals and see where we're at. Obviously, at the beginning of the year, we were hoping that COVID would not have such an impact on our students and attendance. However, we know now that that's not the case. So we did have a lofty goal of 97%. Right now, we're at 90% for the month of January. However, in the last 2 weeks, so we just pulled the data for the last 2 weeks, and we're already back up at 96% the last 2 weeks. So we're hoping that trend will continue. Our chronic absenteeism percentage, our goal is under 15.4% or below, and we did meet that goal for February. So 14.7% was our chronic absenteeism percentage, which again is students that have missed 10% or more of the school year. So every day that we have a school day, that's a really number that changes. Suspensions and expulsions by month. We did have a rise in our suspension numbers with 16 suspensions for the month of February. And most of them in the bulk of altercations, as you can see, that's where a majority of our major incident breakdown continues to be. So our teams are really, Mr. Mendez and his teams are really looking at what do we need to do to curb that between peer mediation, having conversations with teachers or students, conflict resolution opportunities. So you should be seeing some of those interventions coming down to the teams. Academic and social emotional updates. So we had a new opportunity for our students. We've had different versions of this, but at the high school last week, we had our first DPHS College and Career Exploration Day. It was pretty awesome to see, and Mrs. Castillo and her team did an awesome job facilitating this. And so what it looked like is every student, when they came onto campus that day, instead of going to the regular first period class, they had the opportunity 9th through 11th to go into every elective class, every CTE path or pathway course to have a presentation from the teacher. So before they choose their classes, they know exactly what their options are. Anticipate district approved curriculum lists to be finished and brought to the board for approval soon. So just we want all of our staff and our teams to be working on, use Mr. Mendez's term, the same playbook. And so this curriculum adoption district approved curriculum list will help us do so. We started the instructional walkthrough forms with administration team on February 1st. From now to February 1st, we got 125 classroom walkthroughs documented. And it's not just a walk in and walk out, it's really a targeted approach at looking at instruction that's taking place, what students doing, what staff, what our teachers doing, and what are the outcomes. Our teams are also looking at discipline, code alignment work, and handbooks are being worked on, and our SEO survey is completed for the month of February, and our counseling teams are evaluating that. Student activities. So this is my favorite. And I have pictures that actually came up, so we decided. So up in the left-hand corner, we have our cheerleaders who we've been talking about quite a bit at their dance competition and doing a great job. Bottom left-hand corner, that is one of our students with a ukulele in their music class. We have our George Christian students who are spreading some kindness in and out of the classroom on Valentine's Day. Upper right-hand corner, our DPE students were celebrating 100 days of school and making letters out of their body. Using that. And then in the bottom right-hand corner, Bryant Middle School students had a little competition on who can have the best attendance. And those were the 3 classes that won, and now they're partaking in some engagement activities. District news, upcoming news. TK and kindergarten registration has started. So if you're out there and you have a child who's going to be 5 before April 2023, it's time to register. So if you can please contact the DPE office so we can start that process with your family. Soccer playoffs at home tomorrow, which is exciting. CSA negotiations and CTA negotiations are right around the corner, so we're looking forward to working with both of those teams. And then March 5th is a Tournament of Champions. So Mr. Lemos, you're watching, wrestling coach is bringing this opportunity to our Bryant wrestlers. 7 of our Bryant wrestlers are going to be attending they call it the TOC Championship in Elk Grove to hopefully compete and get some great experience. Recap of district shout outs, College and Career Day, DPHS staff, Mrs. Castillo, Mrs. Hunger, Mr. Jacob Zach, Mrs. Foster, Mrs. Hunger, who facilitated, and it was their idea to bring this to our high school. Dpol students, just to point out, with their chronic absenteeism goal of the numbers there. So great job, students and staff, teachers for engaging them. And then head coach Jacobo for 10 years of coaching cheer in and out of the classroom. Those students are a pleasure to be around. Any questions? Thank you guys very much.
Thank you, Mr. Grajales. 7.3, report from board members. Lost.
I went to the playoff girls basketball game last night, so I just wanted to give a shout out to the girls. They showed heart like I haven't seen in the Bronco in a while. They finished the game with 4 players the second half. That's all they had, and at no time did they ever give up. So that was really great to see.
Mr. Van Worth.
I don't have anything.
Mr. O'Banion.
Nothing to report.
Nothing to report. Mr. Morales. Ms. Davis.
Me? Hi. We're all COVID fatigued, all of us. This has been a struggle for all of us as business owners, as teachers, as board members, as parents, as students, our poor kids and what they have lost. And I can't even imagine being in their shoes. And we have to find some humility and some grace and some patience with each other. I will never, ever acknowledge or get into any kind of discussion on Facebook. If you want to discuss something with me as an individual human being or as a board member, I'm not going to engage you on Facebook. My district email, mdavis@dpol.net, mrsjabo88@gmail.com, 209-769-1505. Call me, I'd be happy to talk to you. Let's try to come to resolutions and solve problems, communicating directly like we used to before we had this social media thing that followed us everywhere we went. I ask you for that respect, and I will extend you all that respect. We're all doing the best we can, and I'm sorry that thank you and we appreciate you isn't enough. At least you're getting that. So again, thank you. We appreciate you, and I look forward to speaking to you and working with you moving forward.
Mrs. Reyes.
I don't have anything.
I have nothing.
Information and discussion items, 8.1. AG Completion Improvement Grant. This is the draft presented by Sergio Mendez, Assistant Superintendent of Education Services.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, Mr. Alba, and team members, community members. I'm actually going to cover both items 8.1 and 8.2 with this presentation. Audrey, can you bring up the PowerPoint? Board of Trustees, you have a copy of the PowerPoint, and it piggybacks off of Mr. Kilkin's information, but this provides it more in a way that's more synthesized and it's based on the learning plan. So, as you all know, the governor in our state is providing lots of funding to education and other sectors. And we have more monies coming for the next 3 to 5 years. with each set of monies comes a learning plan that we have to develop and we have to monitor. So this is going to be a summary of a couple of those plans moving forward. And then at future board meetings, we'll also have other updated plans to go over. So as you can see, as I mentioned, we wanted to provide an update on the learning plan. And today we're going to specifically talk the LCAP and the A through G completion grant. All plans center around the foundations of learning. And that's the basis for all of our work. The foundations of learning for us, Los Palos, Orloma Joint Unified School District, are our vision, our mission, our beliefs, and our 4 goals. I think you all follow along on the copy. On Board of Trustees, we currently have 6 learning plans, and they're outlined on slide number 2. Each learning plan, as I mentioned, has a cost of money, and the state has introduced another 3 plans and possibly 2 more by the end of this month. The graphic that you see on the second slide depicts what is going on and what's ongoing types of monies and what's short-term monies. So the short-term monies are all revolved around the pandemic. So we get those one-time monies, or they're around for 2 years and then we don't have them anymore. So we have to plan accordingly. The monies to the left, those learning plans, the LCAP, title, and even the EEPG, which we went over the last board meeting, we provided a copy of that. Those monies are ongoing, so we can plan to have them for 3 to 5 to 7 years from now. All the iterations of each of these plans can be found on our website. So if you go to our website and you go to Ed Services, you can find the detailed plans. Today's is going to be a summary. So with most plans, as I mentioned before, comes a status check, and the LCAP has a status check. So we're going to go over that mid-year check of how we're spending the money tonight. So if you flip to slide 3, you'll see the additional learning plans that the state has proposed. The state of California has made it its mission to ensure that 3 years from now, all 4-year-olds are in TK. And they provided approximately $137,000 to school districts to begin that initiative. So we will bring to the board a plan to roll out TK to all 4-year-olds by the end of this school year. And we're going to commence that plan beginning this summer, moving forward. So we're going to grow our TK from 2 classrooms to 3 years from now to 7 to 9 classrooms per the state directive. Another set of monies, as you can see on the slide, are our A through G completion monies. Those monies were allotted, the $245,000 for our purposes, in order to catch up the amount of students, the large amount of students that did not pass A through G required classes because of the pandemic. So we will be utilizing those $245,000 to continue to fund an independent studies teacher, to continue to fund the independent studies digital platform, and then to increase the offerings during summer school to catch our kids up. Because we had so many students that failed classes in high school throughout these past couple of years due to the pandemic. And then finally, we have the EOLP program. That currently, we have been funded $1.3 million by the state. And that initiative holds that the state wants school districts to provide support for 9 hours of the day. So currently, students TK through 6th grade we provide support during the curricular day, which is approximately 6.5 hours, 7 hours. The state is proposing that school districts increase after-school activities and access to after-school activities to create a 9-hour plus day of support for our students. So that plan is very involved, and iterations of that plan will come about throughout next school year, because the state accelerated those monies and the plan at a pace that districts could not catch up. So they're allowing districts to plan all of next year and then fully implement it the following summer. So as I mentioned earlier, the LCAP, the Local Control Accountability Plan, has a mid-year check. And it forces us to see how we're spending the money and if it's making a difference in student achievement. And so currently, what this graph tells you is the 8 actions or the 8 areas where we concentrate our monies. These are overarching goals, right? So there's some actions within these 8 actions. And what you see with this graphic also is what goals are linked to each of these areas, right? So for example, college, career, and technical education programs and materials, the first action item, which we spend $2.2 million in, that fits our district mission, vision, and belief. So you see that circle in the first ring. And then it meets goal number 2, which is rigorous learning. And so if you follow the rest of the pattern, you'll see which of these actions meet which of the goals, right? So you see here that the LCAP, the $7.5 million, are expended on these overarching actions. And then you have an appendix as part of your presentation that shows you how an itemized list of how each thing is spent and where we're at with spending those actions. Another visual to summarize, to give a summary to these purposes, is that as of right now, we have spent 19%, I'm sorry, not spent, I'm sorry, we have met 19% of our actions that we have established with the LCAP. 81% of those actions remain either unknown or in progress. And one of the reasons for that is because the metrics that we wrote into our plan are all end of the year metrics. For example, we have a metric, we have something to measure, which is graduation rate. Well, we don't know what it is until the school year ends, right? That's when we'll know our graduation rate. So there is progress in the LCAP. 19% we know that it's been met. The rest of it we'll know by the end of the school year. Now, with regard to expenditures, same idea is that this graph here summarizes for you what percent of money has been expended and per goal, right? You also in your appendix, you will find an itemized list of the actions and the amount spent so far during the school year. You'll see that approximately 70% of the funds have been used, LCAP funds, the 7.5 million. And that pretty much lines up with our school year. We're about 70% into the school year, so we spent actually 70% of those funds. With that, it's a very basic summary. You have an itemized list as appendices, and then you also have the more detailed list as part of the report. Does the board of trustees have any questions? Yes.
Going back to, go back to this graph over here. Just, we talked about graduation rate being our measuring. How about we're on track graduations? Because we are at mid-year. Where are we at for kids being on track for graduation right now?
I'm glad you brought that up, Trustee Morales. We're actually working on adding metrics for the next iteration of the LCAP. Because, and this is part of the process, is this data and these metrics tell us where we're at. And we thought that it was incomplete. So for the next LCAP, next year's LCAP, we are going to add mid-year measures and quarterly measures. So we're going to, right now we have 3 assessments that give us a measure, for example. We are in the works of adding more standardized assessments so we could have information every 4 to 8 weeks versus every 3 months. right? Same thing with the graduation rate. We're working with the counseling team and our administrators to also have quarterly checks of the status where we're at with how many students have not completed, how many students have failed or have Ds in classes, and how many are not prepared to graduate every 8 weeks, every 16, etc. So we will include that. We will include that in future iterations.
You can bring that data forward.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
I believe that concludes 8.1, 8.2. Communication and audience comments. 9.1, public concerns will be heard by the board members at this time. However, they will not be discussed. Policy 9323 limits individual presentations to 3 minutes. The president may extend the time under certain circumstances. This is the opportunity for the members of the public to focus on issues important to the district's purpose of education. Under board policy, this time may not be used, under board policy, this time may not be used to present derogatory information of a personal nature on any employee. Anybody wish to present? Adoption of routine consent items. 10.1, the consent calendar represent routine items acted upon in one motion by roll call vote. The recommendation is for adoption unless otherwise specified. Any items can be removed for discussion upon request. Do I have a motion?
No, keep going down.
Contract agreements proposals. 10.2, ROP budget management agreement, pages 80 to 48. 10.3, renewal of license agreement with the Dos Palace Ag Boosters. 10.4, revised 2021 to 2022 DPOL safe return to person instruction and continuity of services plan. 10.5, revised COVID-19 prevention plan, CPPV 4.0 donations. 10.6, redwood trees with Dos Palace High School boys varsity baseball field. The minutes, 10.7 board meeting minutes of January 2022 regular board meeting and February 2nd, 22 special board meeting.
Wait some payroll. Wait some payroll.
Warrants and payroll. 10.8, warrants and payroll. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Davis, seconded by Mr. O'Banion. Call for the vote. And it passes. Action items 11.1, 2021-20 comprehensive school safety plans.
So moved.
Second.
Call for the vote.
That's
So
faster.
21-20, so by March 1st of every school year, our teams have to bring forward a comprehensive safety plan, which will outline how our teams will react in a safety crisis. The school site councils have all voted to have a committee of our staff on each school site to create an update. So these are the plans coming forward for the 21-20 school year.
Call for the vote. And it passes. 11.2, Bryant Middle School Professional Development. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Mm-hmm.
Moved by Mr. Van Wert, seconded by Mr. Bond. Mrs. Hall.
So this is a ratification. We took Bright Middle School, who participated in a professional development last month with their teams, and so we'd like to approve the expenses.
Call for the vote. 11.3, resolution number 21-2210, recommending Merced County Committee of School District Organization approve and establish trustee areas for the Dos Palos Orloma Joint Unified School District. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Moved by Board Member Bond, seconded by Board Member O'Banion.
After,
Mr. Hall.
after many opportunities for our community to provide input, we hosted a workshop at last special board meeting, and it was decided upon map 2A to be brought forth for approval at this meeting. Move forward.
Call for the vote. And it passed. 11.4, 2022-23 school calendar.
So move.
Moved by Mr. O'Banion,
Second.
second by Mr. Bond.
The calendar, academic calendar for the 22-23 school year that we'd like to approve, and so we can start planning for planning purposes.
Vote. Call for the vote. And it passed. 11.5, Creative Director of Early Childhood Education. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Moved by Mr. O'Banion, seconded by Mr. Bond.
So we'd like to create a director of early childhood education, as you heard from Mr. Mendez, speaking about how much we're going to be expanding the preschool and TK center. So instead of having a preschool director, so we'll be shifting from a preschool director position to an early childhood director. That will be the administrator for that entire center.
Not two positions,
It
it's
is
one
not two
position.
positions.
Any questions from the board? All right. Call for the vote. Passes. 11.6 has been removed from the agenda. 11.7, United Way MOU regarding COVID-19 test distribution. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Moved by Board Member O'Banion, seconded by Board Member Van Wert. Mr. Hall.
So we had the pleasure of handing out over 9,000, I believe, 11,000 tests to our community. So because of the efforts of our school district, we have now been granted a grant of $5,125. So the plan to spend that money is to divide it amongst all school sites to be spent on outdoor engagement activities for recesses and breaks with our students.
Cool.
Recommend approval.
Just be buying equipment for them or just using our,
It'll be at the discretion of the principal and their leadership team. If the site needs a speaker to host outdoor activities, if they need equipment, if they need, they want to do a day on the green and they want to have purchase a piece of equipment, that would be, they'll each get approximately $1,000 to do so.
okay. Call for the vote. Passes. 11.8, 2022 CSBA Delegate Assembly Election.
I move on behalf of the board that we recommend Ariel Gonzalez from Delhi Unified School District.
Second that.
Moved by Mrs. Davis with the recommendation, seconded by Board Member O'Banion. Call for the vote. Call for the vote. Passes. 11.9, California College Guidance Initiative, CGI, Data Sharing and Service Agreement.
So moved.
Moved by Board Member O'Banion,
Second.
seconded by Board Member Bonds. Mrs. Grijalva.
So this is a platform for our students, our counselors, and our parents to start utilizing from sixth grade to 12th grade to help track their graduation and their college career pathway status as they go from sixth grade to 12th grade.
Any questions from the board? Call for the vote. And it passes. 11.10, classroom expense waiver, fiscal year 2020 and 2021. Do I have a
So moved.
motion? Moved by Board Member O'Banion, seconded by Board Member Moraz. Mrs. Grijalva.
So every year, the state requires or mandates would like us to be at a 55% of our base expenditures on classroom expenses. This includes teacher salaries, this includes teacher benefits, it includes the textbooks or anything spent that's inside the classroom. In 2020, 2021, we were at approximately 53%. So what this MOU is to, a resolution is for us to submit to the county to evaluate our status to see if we are approved with the 53%. This by no means dictates where we are at this year or the work that we would do with our CTA team. This is just going back from last year and the status we were at. In order to determine if the approval would take place, what we have to do is pull comparable districts who are like to like. So they have the same type of enrollment, they have the same type of population, same amount of teachers. And we have to show that in our surrounding districts of like districts that we are comparable, that they also too are in the same, are not meeting that 55%.
Where do we compare?
Excuse me.
Where do we compare?
So we compare to quite a bit, but the three that we use, we can pull it up, is Fireball, a Fresno school, and a Madera school. But we also do compare to Mendota, and we want to stay with the unified school districts. So Mendota, we do also compare to Delphi as well.
So like to like in
Population,
ADA, like to like in,
EL population, and the number of students in ADA, in salary schedules or salary beginning and end salaries for teachers, and then really how much is in expenses, how much do we spend on each student? I was actually very happy
do you
to
have
see-
something that we could show?
I believe that's what you meant when you said, where do we compare, correct? So that-
being attached. Smaller.
Switch glass.
Switch glasses. Hold up, reset, refresh. Go back one, Ajay, to the agenda. Refresh one more time. Same one. Okay, ed data. So it's attached if anyone would like to pull it up when they get to a computer, because that seems to be.
In
So
comparison,
highlighted is Stas Palace.
we zoom in a little bit more.
So like school districts in our county, we're the top.
Is that what
Is that how I read it?
Is that what we're kind of seeing? Our top salary schedule is 106.
So yeah, Okay, so if you look at the final column over here, so we're in the highlighted.
Mhm.
So this is us right here. So what you want to look at is the current expenditures of education per ADA, so per student. So if this is broken down by the amount that's spent most on students to least. So we are 3, 4, 5, 6 from the very top. We spend $14,425 per student. The top is 16,652, which the schools are Lindsay, Layton, Sierra, Premier, Golden Plains, and then us. If you come down to Fireball here, it's usually they're comparable with Fireball's here, and they rank at 12,464.
Am I reading that right? When I see Fireball's highest paid salary is what?
So when we look at highest paid salary.
96. And we pay,
Yeah, so that's the teacher at the highest salary possible, 98, we're at 106. We look at this teacher salary, they're at 53 or 50. When we look at the teacher salary average, is a really good indication of where we might, because you might have both. So there might be, you might have more teachers on one end. than
Higher
the
end
other,
or
so
lower
it's-
end.
it'll skew
Okay.
it a little bit.
when we look at average, the top is at 83 and we're at 77.
Another school that we tend to compare to is Delhi. They're at 12,000 per student. I need a very big. They're in the 13, everyone else.
13,173.
We're gonna start projecting on that back wall, I think,
Yeah.
just so we can.
And the older we get, the bigger it gets.
So
The
the,
notice down here, so that's another school that it seems to be comparable, in our surrounding areas.
Thank you.
Other questions before I almost fall in front of it?
Thank you.
thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Call for the vote. .11, resolution number 21-22-11, California Schools Healthy Air Plumbing and Efficiency Program.
So move.
Moved by Board Member O'Banion, seconded by Board Member Davis. Mrs. Grijalva.
We've been awarded a California Energy Commission's California School Healthies for Air Plumbing, the CalShape program grant to replace plumbing fixtures and some other, besides our code conversations that we've been having. This is the grant.
It's gonna be more of your question, but do our schools still have the old plumbing, or are we updated to black ABS? We're good. We don't have these old rusty clay pipes. I know these schools are old. Are we having some issues like that? Is this gonna help us out with that? This will help us replace those pipes so we're not having roots intruding into our plumbing system. We're not gonna have
It's not gonna do underground. It's gonna do fixtures.
fixtures.
Yeah, feature apps. So
Do we have any of those issues in our plumbing in any of our schools? What are we doing to address? We're addressing those.
Every project update is also an update with those.
Awesome, awesome.
So we can receive up to 84,390.84.
Two grants. The plumbing grant is 84,000 to do new fixture. And then we were also awarded the 445,000 for our HVAC. That's all the HVACs, do minor repairs, change all the filters, and all at all the schools that finalize on the NECOs. It's some good dollars for the district. Coming out from the state.
Thank you.
Continue to improve our facilities for our students and staff. Awesome. Any other questions from the board? Call for the vote. Passes. 11.2, extended day program materials, robotics STEM.
So move.
Moved by Board Member O'Banion,
Second.
second by Board Member Davis. Mrs. Gall.
So we're really excited about this. Bryant Middle School is going to be offering a robotics extended day learning opportunity. So after the school day is ending, we're hoping that our students, we do have a group of students that are going to be participating in STEM activities, but specifically related to robotics.
How many students will we be able to serve?
I am 50 of
Many
them.
Students, probably about the classroom full. Depending, it depends on how many students are actually gonna have a robot in their hand. We could do different centers, so it just really depends on how it's structured.
Awesome program. All right. Any other questions from the board? Call for the vote. Pass. 11.13, WAS mid-cycle plan virtual visit for Doss Palace High School.
So moved.
Moved by Board Member Davis. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member O'Banion. Mr. Grijalva.
So on April 24th, we have our mid-cycle WASP review. So this is the plan to prepare for that. And I just want to thank the high school team because for those of you that have been through a WASP visit, even a mid-cycle, it's a pretty heavy lift. And so they did a great job getting this in the midst of everything else completed.
Questions from the board? Call for the vote. Passes. 11.14, co-teaching professional training. A motion?
So move.
Moved by Board Member O'Banion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Bonds. Mr. Grijalva.
So we've had conversations at past meetings about a push-in model and co-teaching model at Bryan Middle School for our special education students. So they're exposed to more general education courses. So this is a training to continue to build capacity within our teachers to do this effectively. Support them.
Any questions from the board? All right. Call for the vote. And it passes. Personnel 12.1, resolution number 212212 regarding non-reelection and release of certificated employees.
So moved.
Moved by Board Member O'Banion. Is there a second? Second by Board Member Davis. Mr. Grijalva.
We'd just like to thank all of our employees as always for their service to our students and to our district. We know how much work is put in on a daily basis to meet the needs of our kids. So thank you.
Call for the vote. And it passes. 12.2, create and hire temporary family support specialists and revise job description. So moved by Board Member Davis. Second. Second by Board Member Van Wert. Mr. Grijalva.
So we know that our families are struggling and need continued support. So especially in this time of COVID, we'll be utilizing some of our COVID funds to bring back the family support specialists to provide support to our families at the younger ed levels.
Call for the vote. And it passes. 12.3, extra pay for extra duty, home and hospital, Bryant Middle School.
So moved.
Moved by Board Member Davis. Second
Second.
by Board Member O'Banion. Mrs. Grijalva.
So for continuity of services, we have a student at Bryan Middle School who needs some home and hospital support. So we'd like to provide extra pay for extra duty to the teacher that will be supporting the student.
Questions from the board? Call for the vote. And it passes. 12.4, coaches and volunteer coaches. Moved by Mrs. Davis. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member O'Banion. Mrs. Hall.
So this is, do you mind pulling it up? Thank you. There you go. So we would like these six, I believe that's a six individuals to help coach or volunteer for this season. And so we recommend approval to move forward so they can be on our fields. Or pool.
Any questions from the board? Call for the vote. And it passes. All right, 12.5. Classified staff,
So move.
moved by Board Member O'Banion. For a second.
Second.
By Board Member Bond. Mr. Hall.
We have one recommendation to the board for classified staff to welcome a custodian to our team.
Questions? Call for the vote. Passes. 12.6 resignations. It's an informational item.
Just once again, we'd like to thank them for their service and their time with our district.
Written reports. What goes through read all these?
Just,
Go through it. Written reports, 13.1, educational service reports, Sergio Mendez. 13.2, food services, Rhonda Sullivan. 13.3, health services, Priscilla Whitaker. 13.4, human resources, Jason Von Allman. 13.5, maintenance and operations, transportation, Matthew McCullough. 13.6, preschool, Virginia Franco. 13.7, special education, Laura Delmas. 13.8, technology, Pajay Lee. Any questions?
Ajay, you mentioned in your report that we put up some additional cameras. Where did those go?
Most of those were at transportation, also high school.
Thank you.
Any further questions by the board in regards to reports? Future agenda items requested. 14.1, request from board members for future agenda items. Nope. Mr. Van Wert?
No.
Ms. Davis? I have none. Not have any. All right. 15.1,
So moved.
adjourn meeting.
Second.
Third. Motion by Mr. Van Wert, seconded by Mr. O'Bannon. Yes, call for the vote. 6.
Have a great 4-day weekend, everybody.
This meeting is adjourned. Thank you guys for attending.
Must be nice.
Pick the wrong line of work.